You're listening to Real Talk Podcast with Steve Harrison, where he'll be talking about current events, finance, God, relationships, lifestyle, and health. So stay tuned, because Steve is going to bring that real talk on Real Talk Podcast.
Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Harrison, and we have a great show for you today. Today, my guest is Kytiana Delgado, and today we're going to talk about heal thyself and know thyself. But before we start, I want to thank all my listeners and all my viewers that's been following Real Talk. New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Florida, all those that's been listening. If I haven't named your city, your town, please forgive me. But I just want to thank all my followers who've been keeping with Real Talk. Hit the subscribe button. Tell everybody about Real Talk. We're back. I just want to thank God for everybody that's been keeping and supporting Real Talk. Today, Kytiana is going to talk about heal thyself and know thyself. But before we start, Kytiana, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me here, Steve. It's exciting to be back.
Yes, it's your second time being on the show.
Yes.
First we did audio, now we're doing video. We got to tell people your testimony, your story, and how good God is to you.
Amen. Amen.
Before we start, talk to us about how you grew up and where you come from.
So I was born in a small town called Caguas, Puerto Rico in 1985. I am the youngest sibling out of 4. So I am the last one on the totem pole to say. My dad was in the military from between 1982 to 1983.
Okay.
And the reason why I bring that up is because that has a lot to do with how we started our lives here in the United States. In 1991, my aunt had already came here to the United States. She settled in Milford, Connecticut. And so my father felt also the need to also move us as well, because Puerto Rico at the time, and still to this day, isn't really the best place to grow up in.
To raise a family or just to grow up?
To grow up in general. My dad didn't see opportunities for us.
Okay.
Schooling or even employment. So in order to better our education and have more opportunities, he moved us to Milford, Connecticut in 1991. Where we went through the entire school system, me and my other 3 siblings. So
why Milford? Did you say a relative was there? Why
yes,
Milford?
my aunt moved to Milford.
Okay.
It's a small town, small knit town. It's quiet. It's on the shore. I'm pretty sure if you're from Connecticut and you're listening to this, you know where Milford is.
Yes, small town.
I still live there. I went back to living to Milford because I love it so much. I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to have grown up in an environment such as a small city like Milford. I think we had a lot of employment opportunities. Like in the summer, we all had jobs through the city at 14 and 15. So that really solidified us in terms of our education, our work ethic, and what we wanted to do. And also it had a lot to do as well as not only did how our parents morally raised us, but it also, it all depends on where you grew up. If you grow up in a harsh environment, you're so used to being in survival mode, and we didn't need to be in survival mode.
So what was your background as far as your religion?
My background is when we came here, my parents, we were Catholics. In Puerto Rico, we were Catholic. We were all baptized as Catholics. And when we came here, my parents, I'm not sure how the story went, but we ended up being Jehovah's Witnesses.
From Catholic to Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah.
How was that transition?
I don't remember because I was 6 years old.
Okay.
But I think my parents just wanted us to have grounding. They wanted to have some type of religion in our life. I know that my mom prayed. I know that we believe in God. So I think they just wanted us to be comfortable in a place where we were still getting religious education to ground us as children.
Okay.
That's normally that's what you want for your kids. You want them to be religiously grounded and have somewhere to start. So a lot of that background from a little bit from the Bible came from Jehovah's Witness and the little book that they had of all the stories of Adam and Eve and David and Goliath and all those stories like that. So, and then fast forward through high school, we really didn't.
Did you fall apart from religion or fall apart from Jehovah's
I have to
Witness?
say we did fall apart from religion. We did still believe in God, and we were We have faith, but there's a difference of going to actually a church. There's those things I've learned really, that those things are critical and they're different when you're at a church and
your
still
lifestyle
have
changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fast forward, then when my first cancer diagnosis came up, that's when I really started going
At
back
what
to
age was that?
21.
Okay, so 21, you was diagnosed with cancer. Okay, now can you explain that to us?
So in 2007, I had just came back from a trip from Disney with my niece at the time. She was a couple months old, and my sister and my mom. And I had been feeling sick for the past year, but I didn't know what it was. They always said I got tested for Lyme disease twice. They said I had the flu. They said I had a cold. They said I had allergies. So they said a lot of things that I had until finally September 2017. I was just getting really bad fevers, really, really high fevers where you can just feel the heat coming off my body.
Okay.
And I went to an urgent care, and they actually, it trickled down from there. I ended up having a small case of pneumonia. And then from there on, they took an x-ray, and he was like, I'm really concerned. Your glands are really swollen in your throat. So he sent me for a CT of the chest.
Okay.
And that's when everything just unraveled itself, and I was diagnosed with stage 2B of Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay. And what went through your mind when the doctor told you that you had that disease?
I think for all of us, it was like a death sentence. Cancer is pretty scary. It's a pretty scary world in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a death sentence. Now it's like, all right, she's gonna make it, or is she gonna die? It's kind of like that.
Were you angry at God?
Yes. I was like, why is this happening to me? I actually was going through a very tough time in my life. I had just gotten off a 5-year relationship. And that wound was still new. And then to get hit with cancer, it was like, okay, why are you doing this to me? Like, not have heartbreak, and now I just have another heart broken. Now I have to see my family suffer through this. Now I have to see myself physically deteriorate and muster the strength from out of nowhere to go through these treatments. Like, why are you doing this to me? I did have a sense of resentment for quite a while. I think through the whole entire treatment, I had resentment.
Did that bring your family closer together?
No, it actually didn't, unfortunately. I was the elephant in the room all the time. Nobody talked about it. So I was like the elephant in the room. So everybody went to my mom to see how I was doing. Nobody ever said, hey, how are you? How are you doing today? Like, my siblings never came directly to me to ask me how I was doing. Everything was done through third parties, and I never understood why. But I definitely, at that point, I think I just was, you get to a point where in order to get through things, you turn yourself off.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
You just like separate yourself from people?
Yeah, I think you separate yourself from reality in general in order to get through that. So that's what I did. I turned myself off, and my only concern was surviving and my mom, because I saw the toll that it took on her. And I would hear her pray every time I had chemotherapy. She would sit there and pray, and she thought I was sleeping, but I actually was hearing her pray all the time for me. So that broke my heart. Because I'm 21. I was 21 at the time. I was self-sufficient. Yes. I had a great job. Had everything going for myself, and to all of a sudden be crippled and have to rely on other people was very tough for me.
Now, what I want to ask you too, did you feel like you can hear from God clearer now this tragic thing is in your life? Do you feel like, okay, just me and God one-on-one? Did you hear the voice of God speaking to you?
Not at that time, because you know what? When you want to hear it, you can hear it.
Okay.
But when you're going through that, I'm going to be 100%. I didn't want to hear it.
Oh, you didn't want to hear it?
I wasn't looking for it.
Okay.
At the time. I wasn't looking for it because I was just so mad. And, it was a setback. It was a huge setback in my life. So I just didn't want to hear it. I honestly didn't want to hear it. I was, like I said, I emotionally shut myself down in order to get through what I had to get through. And the aftermath of that, I could would probably say, oh yeah, a lot of people out there, they have great survivor stories. They come out, they conquer and everything. And I think it took a little bit for me to get up to speed, get back to reality.
Okay.
Like, stop getting out of survival mode is very difficult. For me, it was, at least.
Now, since you turned everything off, was God still sending people your way to say, I got you?
Yes, absolutely. My best friend at the time, her grandmother she would take me out to places. She would actually take me to church. I had a great job where I didn't have to pay for any expenses out of pocket for treatment. I was still living at home. So I think the way things, and it's just crazy because the second time around, things lined up too that way, similar, and I'll explain that later. But he gave me my boss at the time, held my job throughout the whole entire sickness. She held my job, and
how long was that?
Probably I didn't go back to work till probably 13 months.
13 months, and you still had your job.
And I still had my job. She still
That's
kept
a
my
blessing
job
all
up.
by itself.
Yeah, and that's the things that he did at the time, but I didn't see it.
Yes.
Until you sit down and think back and say, wow, he did all these things for me, but at the time I couldn't see it because I didn't want to hear it.
Yes. Now, how do you see the world when you was diagnosed? How did you see the world when sickness come? You see the world in a different view?
I think you see your life in a different way in general when you're faced with a sickness that is either terminal or you could possibly die from it. At first I thought, wow, this sucks. This world sucks.
You're just being honest.
I'm being
That's
honest.
what I'm saying. How'd you see the world?
I hated it. I was like, get me out of here. If I had a choice, I probably wouldn't have gone through treatment. The only reason why I went through treatment was because of my mother.
Your praying mother, not just your mother, your praying mother.
My praying mother. I stayed on this. I wouldn't say that I stayed. God allowed me to stay on this earth because I made the choice to say, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to survive.
Yes.
So, and I feel so horrible that I'm not including my dad in this, but my mom, she's the one that I was like with me all the time, and I saw her and her suffering. And years later, because I carried this guilt with me to this day. I mean, I still carry guilt, and if I'm tearing up, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let the world know how you
I'm sorry because it really touches me.
That's right. Tell your story.
My mom is a diehard mom.
Mm-hmm. Which moms I don't know,
but she is just like, she's diehard. Like she's one of those, like, she was a bear and we were her cubs. She will come
destroy somebody.
But she has this sense of, she's so kind, and she's always like, she always looks at like this, always feed everybody. That's what she always used to tell
That's
me.
how
Feed everybody.
They nurture.
She's like, she's so nurturing.
Yeah, they
that
nurture.
Somebody can walk up to her, smack her, and she'll be like, do you want some food? That's how she is. And
coming from Puerto Rico too, not that that's a bad thing.
That's who she is. She's very calm, but she wears her emotions on her sleeve. So I know when she's upset. I know when something's bothering her. So getting back on track.
Talk about your father. You said you feel bad that you
yeah, because honestly, I wouldn't have been able to go through that cancer experience without his mentality.
Okay, and what kind of mentality was that?
So he was in the military, and my dad's a man that doesn't show emotion. So I kind of looked at that and was like, I can't show emotion. I can't break down. So, and he's always been one of those people that was like, you need to defend yourself. You need to fight, like, for what you want.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, in that terms, I got that sense of respect for myself. Respect yourself came from my father. Like, you don't let anybody come and just run you. You stand up for what you believe that is right.
So that's the strength that he was giving you. While your
Yeah.
mother's giving you the nurturing, he giving you the strength how to defend yourself.
Yeah, and I think he didn't know that at the time, that although sometimes it could be a downfall, it's my greatest weapon.
Okay.
Dealing with cancer and all the other things that unfortunately I acquired because of cancer. So that's what he transferred on to me. And I think he doesn't know it, but I think when somebody gives you that gift, you can either let it unravel on itself, or you come to a point in your life where you're like, wait a minute, he gave me that. That wasn't meant to be used by this A, B, and C to be mad at the world and go crazy. It was meant to control it.
Yeah, control it. Don't be wild with it.
Yeah. And now it's like come to not recently, but these last couple years, I've learned to how to kind of
balance it,
take control of it,
okay,
and see what it is for. I can use it
for the good, not for the bad.
Exactly. It's not like, okay, you're gonna go and just run your mouth.
Yeah. Get them.
Yeah. I mean, I still do in traffic, but I think like
you hollering in traffic. I thought we got over that last time we did the show together.
I'm still a work in progress.
You're still a work in progress.
You can't tell me like you're Christian and you don't.
I don't want to see you on Channel 12 Road Rage. And I said, oh my God, Kytiana, what are you doing? Like Stephen, I was holding my Bible in the front seat and he cut me off, right?
And I said, Jesus, take the wheel. And he took the wheel. And I went with it.
Not Wheel of Fortune, the wheel in the car, okay?
Right. So I think that once people give you gifts, people do give you gifts.
Yes.
People give you
Some
spirits.
stuff you just...
I think that people give you a spirit, not a spirit like, I know people don't like that the way I'm saying it. A lot of people don't like that, but I think they give you, I don't know if you want to call it a personality.
Sometimes you get personality from your mother and your father.
And you see, like, say for instance, I see my sister as a mother, and I see how she is, and so I take bits and pieces from that, from when I'm ready to have children.
Okay.
And how I want to be a mother. My mom, I watch her, how I want to be a mother. My dad, how I want to discipline my children.
Okay.
So it's kind of taking bits and pieces from people, but you have to, this is a thing that I'm working on. You have to look at your inner self first before you take bits and you take bits and pieces from people.
I think we all take bits and pieces from people. We want to take the good. Sometimes you can take the bad too.
Yes.
But don't mean that that's good. So we all follow a copy of somebody in all walks of life.
Yeah.
But we have to balance it and put it in perspective and bring it to God and say, Lord, I want to be my own self. Who am I? Yeah. You got to find yourself.
Within that, like,
within that taking from people.
Does this fit into my life? Does this suit me? Does this suit my character? And does this suit the destination that you have in place for me in my life?
Yes.
So that, just believe it or not, kind of like these last couple years, I've learned that, and it's kind of like, wow, it took you that long to do that. But seriously, there's some people that don't wake up for that long, and it's not bad. I don't think people out there should be condemning other people for not waking up.
No, some people take longer.
And they shouldn't be condemning people. They should be helping people. I think during this walk of Christianity, I've looked at myself and I found myself condemning people.
Because you was angry because your situation?
Yeah, I think it's just in general. Like, once you see things for itself, and then you're like, oh, well, that person is not doing this person's not doing that, but then you don't look at yourself and you're like, wait a minute,
self-examination.
Yeah, you have to self-examine yourself before you can. First of all, I don't think that we should be pointing fingers at other people. I think we should be helping them.
I say loving them.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah, love.
That's what Jesus did. Jesus, he was savage at sometimes, but he did it with love.
Yeah, with love.
So you could kind of say like, oh, he was mean, but it wasn't. It was like, this is the world that he came into, and this is what he had to work with, and this is the things that he had to do to make people realize, like, you're just as wrong as this person.
Yeah, he was showing people their self.
Yeah.
Showing people their self. And he had a journey, just like we got a journey.
Yeah. So, and then he came down here. He came down here not by choice. So you have to think about it. He came through the Virgin Mary, and he came into this world like we did.
Yes, birth.
Yes. So he came into this world like we did, and he was thrown into this world like we are today.
We all have to survive. Even Jesus had to survive.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he knew what
his purpose was.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he knew what his purpose was. And we can see it clearly when he's in the Garden of Gethsemane and he's praying about it, and he was praying to pass the cup, and he was okay with his Father saying,
it's going to be okay.
You have to do it.
You got to do it.
You have to do it.
But before we lose time, I want to share with the audience about you've been diagnosed again with cancer.
Yes, last year. So because of the Hodgkin's lymphoma and treatment of it, I developed nodules in my thyroid in 2008. They were closely monitored, and then 2 years ago they decided to act up. So what happened was that one of the nodules that was lighting up in the PET scan was actually growing larger than others. So my endocrinologist was like, I think it's time for surgery. And I knew in the back of my head that was going to come. And I even called my oncologist, my old one, and was like, what do you think about this? And she's like, yeah, I kind of figured this was going to happen. So I was like, man, I got to give something up again. So it's like,
was it easier to deal with this time than it was the first time?
I think it was easier physically and mentally. You know what? I think at that time I was just like, it'll be what it'll be.
Okay.
I think if this is what you want me to go through, I'm gonna go through it. I know, like, right now people are probably like, how can you sit there and say that so easily?
This is your journey. You're telling your story.
I had no choice.
You're telling your story.
It was either I was gonna go back and be bitter again, or I was gonna take it for what it was and see what he wants to see out of me. Because in my previous journey, I did not see what he wanted me to see.
Okay.
So I was like, what do you want me to see out of this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm already a Christian. I'm already reading the Bible. What do you want me to see out of this mess?
Mm-hmm.
Out of this mess.
And what did you see through this journey?
He'll always come through.
What a testimony.
I think we live in a world of, we want everything so fast. We want everything to resolve itself so fast.
Microwave.
Yeah. We live in a simple, quick world. And I think that I learned patience, in that it's always on his time. It's never going to be on my time. So I can sit there and pray for things to happen the next day, but it's going to be on his time, and it's going to be a purpose behind it. I think that's what was so every time I went to church, that came up.
Okay.
God's timing.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. Like, you don't have to keep drilling into me, but that's what he does.
He said you're going to learn today.
Yeah. You didn't learn you didn't hear me last weekend when I was speaking through this one, and
yes.
So I'm going to speak to you again. So
yes.
I learned that he speaks through other people. That's how I get. God doesn't speak to me directly. God, I find, speaks to me through other people
and situations that go on in life.
Yeah. So that's what I caught up about him, that he hasn't directly spoken to me yet, and maybe he hasn't. I haven't heard him, but he tends to deliver messages through other people to me.
Now, all that you've been through, relationship, 2-time cancer survivor, what are you giving back to people to let them know that you can make it no matter what life throws at you? You can make it. What are you using your voice to do besides this podcast? How are you living this out? I've
learned that because I recently had somebody say, like, to me something along the sorts of, and it wasn't my parents, saying, you're not where I want you to be in life.
Someone said that to you?
Somebody said that to me, and they were disappointed. And I'm like, so although it hurt, that's not his decision, his or her decision to make on me. So you may be disappointed at where I'm at in my life, but everybody has a different journey.
That's
just
right.
Because your life is different right now than I am, I bet you wouldn't be saying that if we were on the same level.
If we traded space.
Yes, you wouldn't be saying that. So everybody's timing comes differently. So I'm not married. I don't have children yet. And I do want those things, but they're going to come in time.
Okay.
I have to pray about it, and they're going to come in time. Everything has to fall into place when he wants to, because if this is one thing that I've learned, sometimes he won't give you the blessing if he doesn't know that you can handle it.
Okay.
Or that you're not going to acknowledge that came from him.
Okay.
So I honestly wholeheartedly think that he's still building me up for something bigger in my future. But to also say, I see you were patient. You went through all this throughout these whole years, but I never left you.
Or forsake you.
Yeah, he's never forsaken me. And I got something bigger for you. And this is what it is.
So what are you telling others now that people are saying that you're not where they think you should be? What are you saying with your voice and your journey? Are you telling people like, God is real? I'm a 2-time survivor in cancer.
If you haven't seen the things that I've gone through medically, if you haven't seen like my heartbreaks, if you haven't seen like the times that I've broken down and cried by myself, or cried myself to sleep, and prayed to him, sleeping like almost like crying myself to sleep, praying to him because of the pain that I'm in. You can't judge anybody's journey. Everybody has a different journey than everybody. So maybe your blessing came earlier than mine. Maybe my blessing is not going to come for another 20 years. But I think that we have to evolve during that time, and we can't compare each other. We have to stop comparing each other to our lives to other people's lives, because it's completely different. What if we lived in a world where everybody's lives was different? What was his purpose then of creating a world? If everybody was just meant to do the same thing,
it'd be boring.
So I think that if you're not, and that person that told me is not really religious and doesn't read the Bible,
but it's
so
okay.
I can't really.
We're not
yeah,
going
so
there.
I
We're
can't.
not going to go there.
Yeah, so we can't throw rocks.
You.
We can't throw rocks.
We're speaking to you.
You can't throw rocks.
You.
So I have to say, this person is not in the same spiritual level as I am, or religious.
It's okay.
So I have to step back.
Okay.
And
hear from God.
Let it go.
And let it go.
Because it's not, that person's not determining my time on this earth. This person's not going to determine my path on this earth.
Or he's not going to pay your doctor bill.
He doesn't pay. They're not going to sign my paycheck at work. They're not going to see my doctor bills. And what I was saying too, going back to my thyroid cancer, is I was actually fortunate enough to be in a situation where, again, I don't have to pay for my medical bills.
That's another blessing.
So again, this time around, he came around, and it was almost like the same thing, where I don't pay for my medical, and I
still got your job.
Still got my job. I'm grateful for that. I don't pay for my insurance. I don't pay for anything except prescriptions. And I see a lot of doctors every other month. I'm seeing somebody, and it's fortunately routine stuff. People are saying, oh, you're still sick. No, it's just routine. But because of having treatment, there's other things that come with that stuff.
Okay.
So I have to keep up with that stuff. And recently, I just been getting the doctors telling me, aren't you tired? Aren't you exhausted? And I said, yeah, I'm tired. There's a period where I shut off the issues with my medical stuff, and I don't think about it. I go to my appointments.
Keep it moving.
I would kind of go into robot mode for a little bit, and then I wake up.
Okay.
Because I'm tired and I need some.
But your spiritual life helps you get through what you need to go through your journey.
Yeah, it does.
Get you to your journey.
It wakes me up.
Sick and tired of being tired and just.
So when I'm tired, I turn to it, and when I need to be woken up, it wakes me up. So it works two ways. It's not just. It's not just, oh, it's only during the good. No, it's during the bad that you seek treatment. You seek treatment from it. You seek to retreat into it, to dig more into your spiritual life and your religion and the Bible, and you kind of dig more into that, and you come out and you're like, okay, let's go again. So not to say that you should stop, not to say you should stop and pity yourself or something like that of that nature. I'm just saying you have the right to stop and say you're tired and find retreat and comfort in something that will help you get back up for the next fight.
And God sent people your way, and He show you different things in life for that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're always in a fight. And I'm not saying this in a bad way, but we're always fighting something. But it's how we approach it. So if we're so depleted in spiritually and emotionally and physically, we won't know how to fight that comes in front of us, and we'll just make irrational decisions, or we'll make decisions that weren't really
God orientated.
Yeah. So you kind of get messed up, and so you need to kind of retreat and say, I'm tired. You have the right to say that to him.
And back up.
Yeah. So what I've learned is Psalms is a great book in the Bible because there's a lot of complaining in it.
Yes, David, the warrior David.
Yeah, he does a lot of complaining, but then he does a lot of praising
at the same time.
So you got to take from that we can complain to him, but we can't complain about him.
No, praise him.
So you can complain to him, but praise him. So yes. I may be in a situation, but I'm always saying, I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful that I'm able to get up every morning by myself. I'm able to have food in my cabinets. I'm able to clothe myself. I'm able to function on my own without somebody, human being, taking care of me.
Yes, that's a blessing all by itself.
So I say that I wake up and I'm like, these are the things I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful to be living in a safe home. I'm grateful to have a job. I'm grateful to have my family. I'm grateful for the friends that I have. So there's a lot of things that you can be grateful for.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we all need to be grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Kytiana, I just want to say thank you for coming to the show, sharing your testimony, 2-time cancer survivor.
Thank you.
And I thank God for healing you and letting you tell your testimony. That's why we're doing Real Talk, so we can help people out there that's going through the same thing that she went through, and you could pull strength from that. To all my listeners, like I said, Facebook, Podbean, YouTube, thank you for watching this broadcast, and we thank you for watching Kytiana's testimony. And remember, Boston, New York, Connecticut, thank you for following me. Texas, Florida, all those that are listening and watching, thank you for listening to Real Talk, and we will see you later. God bless.
God bless. Thank you so much.
You can reach out to Steve at realtalk877@gmail.com, Instagram and Facebook at Real Talk with Steve Harrison.